very first video on this YouTube channel was just me talking about Ahsoka, the TV series, and how I really didn't like it and how it kind of ruined all the characters from Rebels. And it was really just me tearing that Ahsoka show apart for like 20 minutes. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. Didn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. That also didn't make sense. Didn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It made no sense. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you think it made any sense? In the first video, I mostly focused on all the differences in the characters from Rebels and how they're so different now in this Ahsoka show. But I didn't really focus on Ahsoka herself and all the problems that I had with her as a character. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. As you Star Wars fans know, Ahsoka is not a new character. She's been around for a long time. She was first introduced in the Clone Wars movie. And since then, she has become a well-beloved character, and Dave Filoni worked really, really hard to just add her absolutely everywhere in the Star Wars universe. She was a major character in the Clone Wars TV show, and she was added into Star Wars Rebels as well, which ran from 2014 to 2018, and she was in all but one season. Ahsoka was seen in the very last scene of Rebels, which was released in 2018. She was not seen on screen again until 2020 when the final season of Clone Wars was released on Disney+. And that final season premiered in February of 2020. Later that year, October of 2020, her character would then make a live-action debut in the second season of The Mandalorian. She would also appear in the Book of Boba Fett in February of 2022 before being seen in her very own show, which was released in August of 2023. Needless to say, we were seeing this character quite a lot before her own show was released, and it seemed like Dave Filoni was just doing a lot of work to get the fans really excited to see this show. I myself was very excited to see more of this character and to see her in live action and to see her in her own show. But I was also very nervous at this point and very hesitant to be excited about it because her show was being released right after 3 kind of not very good Star Wars TV shows. Her show was being released when Star Wars TV shows were arguably starting to decline in quality. Exhibit A.
Do you think this is a joke?
If you're looking at the timeline of the live-action Star Wars TV shows on Disney+, you see that Ahsoka was released after the Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian Season 3, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Andor had also been released before this, and that one was very popular, but 3 of the 4 TV shows that had just been released did not do really well with the audiences. And I still think Andor was dumb. I stand by that. The Book of Boba Fett did not win any audiences with its meandering plot and assassination of Boba Fett's character. Kenobi also did not win any audiences over with its meandering plot and assassination of Kenobi's character. And Mandalorian Season 3 did not win any audiences with its jarring and not very Star Wars-like appearances of Jack Black and Lizzo. Oh! Yeah, I don't really know why they thought that was a good idea. People were starting to lose interest in these TV shows, and Star Wars fans were becoming more disappointed and frustrated with just how ridiculous these shows were at times. At least, I know I was. And looking at all the Rotten Tomatoes scores, it's kind of obvious that other people felt the same way. Let's take a look at some numbers, shall we? So this one shows the finale viewership numbers for Star Wars TV shows on Disney+. The red bars are showing all the Star Wars TV shows, and you can see that there is a steady decline for people sticking around and watching the finale of these Star Wars TV shows. Just also looking at views per episode, that was also steadily declining. And then just looking at Rotten Tomatoes scores, I'm looking just at the audience scores. I don't trust critic scores at all. While The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2 got 93 and 91% respectively, Mandalorian Season 3 got a 51%. And then the Book of Boba Fett, that got 48%. Obi-Wan Kenobi did a little bit better, 61. Andor got 88. I still think it's dumb. And then, hilariously, The Acolyte, just wanting to poke fun at this one, that one got 19%. Oh, that one was bad. It was a rough time for Star Wars and Star Wars fans as these TV shows were not doing super well. Yet, a lot of us were still excited for the Ahsoka TV show, and were enjoying it as it was being released. Could Ahsoka actually be good? I was hopeful, but then the more the season went on, the less excited and hopeful I became, and the more I realized that Dave Filoni doesn't really seem to know what he's doing. Or I guess maybe he does know what he's doing, but it really just doesn't make sense for what he already did in the past. Filoni has been in charge of this character for a long time, and it has been so awesome seeing the different journeys she's been on, the struggles she's overcome, and the great Force user she has become. In the Clone Wars, we saw her go from an annoying, childish Padawan to a strong, wise, and resilient Jedi warrior. In Rebels, we saw her as she struggled with what happened to Anakin and the Jedi, and how she continued to fight with the rebellion. We saw her wisdom and fortitude and how she helped those around her. So now it was time to see where she was all these years later after the Rebels TV show ended. It was time to see what new things she would learn, what new challenges she would overcome, and how her powers and knowledge in and of the Force have been strengthened throughout the years. It was a lot to do, it was a lot to cover and show with this character. And so how exactly did they do that? Before I get into analyzing this TV show, I want to go over what Dave Filoni and Rosario Dawson, who played Ahsoka, what they said we would see in this Ahsoka TV series. In the year 2020, 3 years before the release of the series, Filoni did an interview with Vanity Fair and discussed the future of the Ahsoka character. In this interview, he said, "I've always made comparisons to her heading toward the Gandalf stage, where she is the one that has the knowledge of the world and can help others through it. I think she's reached that point." Then, in August of 2023, the same month that the show was released, Dawson did an interview with Entertainment Weekly and said a few things regarding the character that I thought were pretty interesting. She said, "In the animation, you saw her go to the white, but what I loved is the idea that there was even another level to her." Dave and I talked about Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, talking about the transition and how she's someone very capable and excellent and looked up to as a leader, but she still has levels of development to go. So before the release of the show, Dave Filoni and Rosario Dawson were still continuing to talk about comparing her to Gandalf, and for me that kind of meant that they were going to continue that Gandalf arc even further from where we left off in Rebels. Rosario Dawson herself even mentioned the Rebels TV series and how Ahsoka had become Ahsoka the White at the end of that. So I was thinking we were going to be continuing that. And before I go on, I want to talk about that comparison and talk about Gandalf as a character. If they're comparing her to Gandalf, we need to understand the Gandalf character. In his story, Gandalf is a crucial character. His influence and impact on the story are immeasurable, and without him, many people and cities would have been destroyed, and the good guys would not have been able to succeed. Gandalf's character arc is clearly shown by the change of name and appearance. He first is known as Gandalf the Grey and is wearing gray, shabby robes. He is friendly with those around him, bringing fireworks for the hobbits on Bilbo's birthday, and he provides friendship and guidance to our protagonist, helping him when they realize what the ring actually is. At the beginning of the Fellowship's journey, he continues to provide our protagonist with comfort and guidance as they start to trek to Mount Doom. He isn't a perfect character and can be pretty harsh at times, but he knows what needs to be done and will do what it takes to accomplish this mission and to protect his friends. And he does. He fights the Balrog, dying to save the Fellowship. So he dies, and then he is sent back. His role in this fight is not over, and he returns as Gandalf the White. He is sent back for a very specific purpose to fill that role as the White Wizard. Saruman had previously held that role and was the leader of the wizards, but he betrayed them, so Gandalf was sent back to be that leader and to do what Saruman was supposed to do. Gandalf comes back with higher purpose, powers, and responsibilities, and he takes this role seriously, knowing that he must succeed where Saruman had failed. Gandalf is portrayed as a very wise and powerful wizard and is highly respected by those around him. He is portrayed also as a wanderer at first, but is always returning to impart guidance, wisdom, and strength to his friends. And that, kind of in a nutshell, is the character of Gandalf. He is a mentor, friend, and leader. He truly cares for those around him and will die protecting them. He knows he has responsibilities in this war and does not shy away from them. So, how does Ahsoka compare to this character? How is she similar to this character, and what about her journey mirrors that of Gandalf's journey? Well, the first obvious thing that you probably notice is that in the Ahsoka TV series, we see similar events happen to Ahsoka that happened to Gandalf when he faced the Balrog. He fights this formidable foe as Gandalf the Grey, dies, comes back, and returns as Gandalf the White. Ahsoka faces a formidable foe as Ahsoka the Grey, dies, and then she returns as Ahsoka the White. So, pretty similar. Seems like Dave Filoni might know what he's doing here, right? Right? Wrong! Need I remind you that all of those things happened in the Rebels TV series first and were actually done so much better. In my opinion, Star Wars Rebels is criminally underrated. I think it's so much better than the Clone Wars, and I will fight you on that. Filoni clearly just wants us to forget everything that happened in the Rebels TV show and do everything new, which is just so heartbreaking to all of us that really loved the Rebels TV shows and loved everything that he did in that. I don't know why he doesn't give it the respect and attention that it deserves. One of my favorite things of the Rebels TV series was the portrayal of Ahsoka. The more I thought about it, the more I realized just how similar to Gandalf she is in that show. She is a wanderer like Gandalf was, but repeatedly returns to the protagonist to assist and guide him. She is highly respected by those around her and has immense wisdom and knowledge to impart to Ezra and Kanan regarding the Force. She is a leader in the war as well, and without her, many disastrous events would not have been prevented. She is friendly as well to those around her and fights to protect them. She fights Darth Vader to save Ezra and Kanan, and at the end of that battle with this formidable foe, she dies. Or at least she would have, had not greater powers intervened by sending Ezra into the world between worlds to save her. After she is saved and brought back, the very next time we see her, she returns as Ahsoka the White, dressed in white robes and with a new staff. Very similar to Gandalf. And it might sound crazy here, but you can just kind of see in this one scene just how different she is. I know this is just a few seconds of only seeing her as Ahsoka the White in this animated TV series, but you can tell she's different. Her demeanor, facial expressions, stance, you can tell from just her face that she holds new knowledge, responsibilities, and possibly heavy burdens. She seems wiser, calmer, and purposeful. Again, I might sound crazy because it's just a few seconds in this TV show, but I swear it was so good, and you can just interpret so much from that one scene. At the end of this, I was pumped. I was excited to see Ahsoka again, see what things she had learned, what new powers she gained, and her new role and responsibilities as Ahsoka the White. Which is why I was so tremendously disappointed to see that rather than picking up where we left off, they decided to redo everything. Well, sir, we are so excited to be back here and to be working with the Ahsoka character again. It's been a while since Rebels. Yes, I'm also very excited to work on this character. We haven't seen this character really, since like the Clone Wars. Anyway, we're very excited. We left her off after, that Gandalf arc that we did in Rebels where she died and she came back as kind of like Ahsoka the White. Yes, wait, I'm sorry, what was that you just said? The Gandalf arc? Oh, Gandalf arc. Yeah, no, I really like that idea. Yeah, no, it was a really good idea. It was really good. Yeah, let's do that. Yes. Well, we actually already did that in Rebels. You did that in Rebels. What are you talking about? Star Wars Rebels. You helped make that TV show, remember? Rebels. I don't remember any Star Wars Rebels. Trust me, I think I would remember if I had written something called Star Wars Rebel. It has characters like Sabine and Zeb and Ezra. Now, nothing of this is ringing a bell? Doesn't ring a bell. No, sir, you helped make it. Here, look, this is a picture of Sabine. Oh, wow, no, she looks cool. She's like a Jedi. She looks like a cool Jedi. No, sir, she's a Mandalorian. No, I think she's a Jedi. We'll make her a Jedi. I think that's really good. I don't think that we should make her a Jedi. Not everybody has to be a Jedi. I love this idea. That's gonna be great. No. Okay, so I already compared Ahsoka in Rebels to Gandalf. So how does Ahsoka in the Ahsoka TV series compare to Gandalf? What are the similarities there? Ahsoka in the Ahsoka show is so different from her Rebels version and does not feel anything like Gandalf or really like Ahsoka. She feels so different, and not really in a good way. She isn't particularly friendly, acting bored and disinterested in others, especially Sabine. She's supposedly supposed to be Sabine's mentor and teacher, but she doesn't seem to care about teaching her much. Ahsoka doesn't seem as wise and calm as she used to be when she was younger either. She is much older in this show, but acts more childish. I swear, her interactions with Sabine They're both so much older, but they just are so bratty and annoying to each other. And again, Gandalf wasn't exactly kind and gentle at times, especially not to poor Pippin, but he actually did care about everyone. When Pippin touched the Palantir and was seriously scared and affected by Sauron, Gandalf was at first very mad, but then, realizing the severity of this, he immediately helped Pippin and showed that he did care. And I don't see the side of Ahsoka in this show. Sabine was stabbed and almost killed, and we're not going to get into the ridiculousness of her surviving this lightsaber wound. We don't need to get into that. It's ridiculous. It's dumb. I know, but we're not here to talk about that right now. Yet, after Sabine had almost died, Ahsoka was still incredibly cold towards her.
Ahsoka.
Get some rest.
Wait. You need my help.
No. You've done enough.
So, Ahsoka as Ahsoka the Grey in the Ahsoka TV series, it's a lot of Ahsokas, she doesn't feel similar to Gandalf the Grey. I guess aside from being like a traveler. So maybe the Ahsoka Grey wasn't really good, but how about the fight and the transition that she had from Ahsoka the Grey to Ahsoka the White? How about the fight scene? First of all, having her big fight with Balin's skull after they already did it with Darth Vader is just laughable. Rebels did this scene perfectly, having Ahsoka face the greatest foe she ever could, her former mentor and friend. In the Ahsoka show, it's rather strange because she first fights Balin's skull, she falls off a cliff, and then she appears in the world between worlds. And also this scene where she falls off the cliff. What? Then she fights this second foe, which is Anakin?
Jonathan?
Maybe a hallucination of Anakin? A vision of Anakin? Anakin's Force Ghost? I don't really know what happened here. I don't think anybody really knows. I don't even think Dave knows what's happening here. It's not really clear, and in this battle, she relives different moments in her past for some reason. And then, at the end of this fight with Anakin, in order for her to return, she needs to choose life.
I choose to live.
What?
What?
Okay, am I crazy, or did that just come out of nowhere? This entire TV series, I swear, I did not even think once that Ahsoka was struggling with this decision of choosing life over death. Where did that come from? Dave, what's happening here? This scene did not make any sense to me, and I think it's rather strange how she returns. While in Rebels, Ezra is sent there. Why, he isn't exactly sure, but it is clear that something or someone is sending him to the world between worlds and guiding him to save Ahsoka. Morai appears there, and it seems clear that higher powers are sending him there for that purpose of saving Ahsoka. That is very similar to Gandalf's story, where higher powers sent him back. It was not just simply him needing to choose to live. He needs to be sent back to fulfill a role and be a leader. And the same was true for Ahsoka's story. At least it was in Rebels. Then this Ahsoka show just came along and decided to ruin everything. So it's rather unclear what happens in the scene with Ahsoka in the world between worlds. And honestly, I don't even think that Dave Filoni himself could explain what's going on here. So, we're all confused together. Yay!
This is fun. We're having fun.
I hate this TV show. Okay, so Ahsoka the Grey and this fight scene were not very good, in my opinion. But what about when she comes back as Ahsoka the White? Maybe they fixed things and her as Ahsoka the White was done very well. So Ahsoka returns and proceeds to dress in all white robes, signaling to the audience that, just like Gandalf, she has returned as a different person. Except, psych, she's the same! Did she really change? And if she did, how? When Gandalf returned, he was sent back stronger, wiser, and with more responsibilities. The difference in his character was much more than just dressing in white. With Ahsoka's change, I really don't see anything different. Her character felt exactly the same as she was before. She was doing all the same things and acting the same way with the same powers and knowledge that she had before. Nothing was different. Other than the clothes switch, the only thing I think they tried to do here with Ahsoka to show that she was different was to be less mean towards Sabine. And also that she was a little bit more carefree. And I say that because they add in these lines about her seeming to not care where the Purrgil take the ship, and she's okay with wherever they take her, even if it isn't exactly where she wants to go.
You're certain they know where Sabine was taken?
I have no idea.
What?
No idea. We'll just see where it goes.
It could go anywhere.
I know.
That's dumb. That is a dumb, stupid, dumb idea. Dumb.
It honestly felt like she was kind of a hippie now. Like, honestly, I don't know why, but this scene just made me feel like, is she coming back as like some weird, groovy, laid-back surfer version of Ahsoka? It just felt weird. And absolutely the opposite of how Gandalf returned. Ahsoka came back more relaxed and whatever. Gandalf came back with even more and more serious responsibilities and a war to end. Ahsoka was supposed to come back in a similar sense with more responsibilities, not less. Or at least not a feeling that she had less responsibilities and was more carefree. And maybe you interpreted this differently. Maybe this is just me, but like that's how I felt about this character after she returned, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. In my humble opinion, while the Ahsoka show attempted to redo all the events of Ahsoka, going from Ahsoka the Grey to Ahsoka the White, Rebels executed that storyline and character arc perfectly and should not have been so quickly ignored and replaced for an inferior version that doesn't seem to understand the Gandalf character and arc. I don't like this show. So I'm talking a lot about what Ahsoka should not have done, what this TV series should not have done, but I guess you might be thinking, well, okay, you can say that it shouldn't have done that, but you gotta say, what should it have done? And you're right. What do I think the Ahsoka TV series should have done instead? One particular thing that Filoni said that really stuck out to me and sounded very interesting was this. She is the one that has the knowledge of the world and can help others through it. The idea of Ahsoka being a guide and having immense knowledge was just so intriguing to me, and I was ready to see it. There were a few things that I kind of expected to see from this Ahsoka TV series in this first season. And things are about to get a little bit more nerdy and in-depth. If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you might not know what I'm talking about. The first thing I expected was further exploration and explanation of what happened to Ahsoka during the Mortis arc with the ones in the Clone Wars. If you don't remember or don't know what happened there, I'll explain it real quick. When Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan back in the Clone Wars, she, Anakin, and Obi-Wan were mysteriously transported into this other dimension/world where they met the Mortis gods, or the Ones, who were beings that were very closely tied to the Force and were kind of representatives of the different sides of the Force. The son representing the dark side, the daughter representing the light side, and the father representing the middle or the balance of the Force. And I won't go into all that happened while they were with these gods, but while they were there, Ahsoka was killed by the son and then was revived by the daughter. The daughter gave her life force to Ahsoka in order for her to be revived. Since then, it's been hinted that Ahsoka had been changed from these events and had a closer connection to the Force. The creature Morai, who had been a companion to the daughter, was now Ahsoka's companion, and this was implying that Ahsoka had a strong connection to the daughter and the light side of the Force. We see Morai throughout Rebels, the end of the Clone Wars, and even in The Mandalorian. But none of this is ever really explained. None of this is exactly explored or focused on. They just kind of hint that something changed with Ahsoka, something is different about her since then, but they don't really dive into that and explain what. We never really know exactly what happened to Ahsoka, how strong her connection to the light side is, what the role of Morai is, or if Ahsoka will gain new powers and knowledge from being revived by the daughter. This was one thing that I expected them to at least begin starting to explain in this first season of Ahsoka. I expected they would start to explain this and show her connection and her powers from the daughter and how that directly led her to being Ahsoka the White and being this spiritual guide in this world. But nothing. We should have seen Ahsoka as a wise, powerful guide in this world. We should have seen her as a true leader, directing the Ghost Crew and officers in the New Republic in their hunt for Thrawn. She should have shown more composure, more kindness, more understanding, more connection to the Force. And I was so ready for a version of Ahsoka that was so clearly leveled up from Ahsoka in Rebels, who was already so amazing. And you might be thinking that everything I'm saying isn't exactly a clear enough idea for what I wanted in this first season, but so what? I'm not the writer here. I am not the one who's supposed to be really fleshing out these ideas. I think I have a really good concept. There were very specific things that I wanted to see and thought were the clear next step with this character. Even if I didn't have a very clear, written out storyline for Ahsoka, there were things that should have been explored and explained further. The past should not have been repeated. Which is one specific thing about the show that I think really hurt the show. It was so heavily focused on the past. It just felt so stuck. Ahsoka so obviously being hung up on the past, all of it just felt like it was in the wrong place. Like this was the wrong time for Ahsoka to be doing this. It is my belief that Ahsoka, at this point in her life and journey, would not be so incredibly hung up on all of these things. And you might think I'm totally wrong here, but I really believe that these things are things Ahsoka would have dealt with in years past and have already overcome at this point. They don't explain what happened to Ahsoka since seeing her being saved by Ezra and then returning to Sabine at the end of Rebels, but it is my belief that in those years, she would have come to terms with what happened to Anakin, the Jedi, and would have gained more peace by strengthening her connection to the light side. What I think would have been so much cooler than her fighting Anakin in the World Between Worlds and seeing him as Darth Vader again, I would have had her interaction with Anakin be an interaction with Anakin, not Darth Vader. I would have had it be about her gaining information or guidance from him, not just about her being stuck in the past. Enough of the past. Can't we just move on and focus on the future? In the end, Ahsoka, the TV series, and the character just weren't what they could have and should have been. This show and character had so much potential. So much potential to show us how far the character came since we last saw her in Rebels. But instead, she just reverted back to where she had started in Rebels, and arguably was even worse than how she was in Rebels. Many things were repeated in the show, but then were just made to be so much worse. The character seemed hopelessly stuck in the past, unable to move forward. While Ahsoka should have been stronger, wiser, and a better leader, she instead felt weak, confused, lost, and hopelessly stuck. So that's all I have for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If not, bummer. I don't know, man. That's not my fault, I guess. You didn't like it. So what? I don't care. Let me know if you agree or disagree with anything that I said. Let me know if you also wanted to see different things from Ahsoka Season 1. And maybe Ahsoka Season 2 will get around to doing some of these things. I highly doubt it. I have no faith in Dave Filoni anymore, which is such a shame. But anyway, yeah, let me know your thoughts. I absolutely love seeing your comments. I know that my channel is very small, but I'm honestly so shocked and happy with the amount of interaction that I get on my videos. I love it. I love seeing your comments. I love interacting with you, discussing different things with you. I even like it when people disagree with me. I think it's very interesting to see your different opinions and takes on things that I say. It's been a ton of fun. So shout out to you guys. You guys rock. And I'll see you in the next video.